If you want to buy a property in Italy, there are 3 common mistakes that you want to avoid. I'm Jacopo of Valente Italian Properties, and on this channel I break down Italian real estate in plain English. In this video we are going over the 3 top mistakes that foreigners make when they are going to buy a property in Italy. But not just that. I will also show you exactly how you need to handle every situation in the right way. The first error is underestimating Italian bureaucracy. Italian bureaucracy when buying a property, it's not so complicated if you know it. I'm saying this because the mistakes that foreigners make when buying a property in Italy is flying to Italy, sign a proposal and buy a property straight away without knowing the steps that they need to follow. So here are in a chronological order the 5 main steps that you need to follow to make it in the right way. The first one is get a fiscal code, a Codice Fiscale in Italiano. This is mandatory, not just to buy a property but also to sign the preliminary contract, because you will need to register the preliminary contract, and for this you need a fiscal code. Actually, the fiscal code is needed for everything in Italy because it identifies you as a person. So you will need it also for the utilities, for example, or if you want to take residence in Italy. By the way, you don't need to be an Italian citizen to buy a property in Italy. You just need a visa, even a touristic one. The second step is proposal and preliminary contract. In practice, proposal and preliminary contract are both binding. Once signed, you can't just back out without penalties. Plus, it's mandatory when you have a proposal or a preliminary contract to register it in the Italian Revenue Agency. I'm saying this because even in Italy, even Italian real estate agents often don't respect this rule. By the way, a good real estate agent can take care of the registration. What you have to know is what you need to pay, which is 200 euros flat tax for the registration plus 0.5% of the deposit that you pay at the moment of the preliminary contract or the proposal. This 0.5% is not something that you lose, but will be discounted from the registration tax that you will pay when you buy the property in front of the notary. And let's go with the third step, the property technical report. In Italian, relazione tecnica. In some region of Italy, this report is mandatory. In others, it's not. But either way, it's too risky to skip it, because the report checks the urban compliance, the cadastral compliance, and the construction rules compliance. Without these checks, you could easily end up buying a property with legal or construction or cadastral issues. That's why you must also always include a protective clause in the preliminary contract or proposal specifically for this non-conformity. But we will speak about this later in the video. Now you are at the fourth step, the notarial deed. For the final sale, you will just need your passport or ID and a document that shows to the notary if you are married or not. But there is one important thing that you need to know about the notarial deed. If you don't speak Italian fluently, you will not be allowed to sign an Italian deed, at least in Italian. So in this case, you have 2 different options. The first one is to make a bilingual deed, both in Italian and in your language. So it will be a bit longer and it has to be signed with an official interpreter. This type of deed costs more than a normal Italian deed because you also have to pay the interpreter. The second option is the power of attorney. So you appoint someone you trust who speaks Italian fluently. It costs just a few hundred euros, between 200 and 500. You can do this in Italy or also at the Italian embassy in your country. So this is cheaper, you still need the interpreter, but the power of attorney is much shorter and easier to translate for the interpreter compared to a notarial deed. So it will cost you less money, and if you want, you can do this without even moving from your country. So you don't need to be in Italy for the notarial deed. Then you can also finance your purchase in Italy with an Italian bank, but in this case you have 2 additional steps between the preliminary contract and the notarial deed. The first one is the financial approval. The bank checks your financial situation and approves the loan. And the second step is the property appraisal. So the bank sends a surveyor to the property to check the conformity and also if the value is okay with the price you are paying. So if these 2 steps are okay, the bank will finance you, and usually if you are a foreigner with income in a foreign country, they will finance you with a loan to value of 50%. Before going on the second error, I would like to remind you that me and my team, we can help you through all these steps, from the research until the notarial deed. Our goal is to make you buy in Italy and invest in Italian real estate without risk. So if you want a guide through the Italian buying process, just reach out on our Instagram profile or send an email at info@valenteit.com. The second error is underestimating property risks. Have you ever heard about the Dunning-Kruger effect? It's when someone with little knowledge in a field overestimate their expertise. A classic example: someone that watched a couple of videos on YouTube on Italian real estate thinks they've got all figured out and make a proposal without even checking the legal issue or the conformity issue. The problem is that when it comes to real estate, a small mistake can cost you a lot. That's why before making any decision or submitting an offer, you need to know these two simple steps that can protect you from headaches. The first one is add a protective clause to your offer. In your offer, you need to include two key points. The seller must declare that the property has to be sold free of any encumbrances. I'm speaking about mortgage, liens, or legal claims. The second clause is that the seller must declare that the property complies with every urbanistic, cadastral, and construction rule. Just by adding these two simple phrases, you are well protected by the Italian law. If the seller doesn't respect these two clauses, he has to give you back double the deposit that you paid and also reimburse you in case of any additional damage. The second thing that you need to do, and it's really important to protect yourself from the property risk, is get a technical report from a surveyor. That's because a licensed surveyor can inspect the property and issue a certified report that confirms that the property meets all the rules, all the criteria that you are talking in this video. This is the highest level of protection, and for a relatively small fee, you can buy yourself peace of mind. If you need this kind of property assessment, get in touch with us. Our surveyor will be happy to help. So with these two simple steps, the clauses and the surveyor, you can easily avoid the most common mistakes that a buyer make when buying a property in Italy. But now let's talk about Italian real estate agents, because we have a lot to talk about them. Rely solely on the agency that is advertising the property that you like, it's not always the best choices if you want to protect your interests. That's due to how the Italian real estate industry work. The vast majority of real estate agents spend their time and effort looking for other properties to advertise. They want to get new listings. So their main priority is the seller. They are not really focused on helping buyers. If you're interested in buying one of the property they are advertising, that's okay. But if you are not, they couldn't care less. And even if you do want to buy one of their property, they will be often more inclined to protect the seller interest instead of finding a fair deal and protect your interest as well. That's just how things work here in most of the cases. So what you should do instead, you should choose and work with the real estate agents that you trust. Someone professional, someone that share your same values and who is actually invested in helping you in your real estate project in Italy. Either way, you will be paying a fee to a real estate agent. So why not pay that to someone that is actually working for you? And the good thing is that when you hire a real estate agent, he will be free to tell you things like, this area isn't great, there are legal risks in this property, or the asking price is too high. And the listing agent might not be so eager to share this insight with you. But there are two more challenges that you need to know speaking about Italian real estate agents. The first one is that very few of them offer this buyer's advisory service. And the second one is that even fewer agents speak fluently in English or work with the international buyers. So finding the best advisor for you may take a little effort, but it's really worth it, I promise. So now I would like to know your experience about buying a property in Italy in the comment, and if you have any question, please leave it again in the comment. I will read it and reply. And see you in the next video.